but when you all seen the same exact thing,
Right.
and your memory is cut off at a certain point, and
Oh,
you all of you don't remember this gap of time in between.
missing time.
There's a beginning and there's an end, but the middle is
Blurred out. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. And today we've got a doozy of a show for you. I got two hosts with me, and we've got Reverend Bill McDonald here. So let's jump right in. Justin, say hey.
What's up, everybody? It's Justin with Living Life Consciously. Glad to be here as always. I'm very much so looking forward to this conversation.
And I'm Leslie, your love lit co-host, also known as Light Being Love, also known as eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience.
Love that. And with us is Reverend Bill McDonald. And for our audience, I'll just give you a quick intro so we know who we're talking with. So Reverend Bill was born in 1946 in San Francisco, California. He is an author, award-winning poet, artist, actor, international motivational speaker, former radio show host, advisor and consultant to the films and documentaries, interfaith minister, advocate for veterans, yoga meditation teacher, a decorated Vietnam War veteran. Thank you for your services. And he is a spiritual advisor and confidant to many from all walks of life. Reverend Bill's life has been a spiritual journey spanning slightly over 7 decades. His whole life has been a mystical trip in search of gurus, the paranormals, and self-discovery. He has written about his many spiritually transforming experiences and near-death experiences, including supernatural events during his combat tour of duty in Vietnam War. In his books, he has shared some incredible spiritual events that are beyond both common understanding or explanation. What he knows for sure after all these years is that the only thing that is truly real is love. He speaks publicly about the need to forgive and power and energy of love. His mission in life is to inspire others to seek the divine, and he does that through his personal stories of his own life and experiences. He is a seeker, but not just for himself. His mission is to allow others to experience his journey through his stories. He has had 3 near-death experiences and many countless encounters with the supernatural. His beliefs are simple. There is but one God, and our only mission is to love and serve all. We would like to talk with Reverend Bill about some things that he has not really talked about yet. So, Reverend Bill, where would you want to start off?
well, first off, thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here and sharing your energy with us.
And I know that everybody was going, "Oh, talk about near death experience." Talk about, and we were talking before, and I kind of let you know that there's a lot of that material out there. I've given probably 800 interviews on near death experiences, and I'm going, the well's much deeper. There are 32 flavors out there of that I can share with you. I mean, it's all good, and so it's just kind of, we were talking earlier about I had lunch. I say this because I just saw on Yahoo that Jimmy Carter's wife just was put in hospice, and he's in hospice. And
Mm.
Oh, no.
I had the good fortune to share a little bit of time with them at once upon a time. And I was at the Carter Center in Georgia back in 2002, I believe it was. Got invited for a luncheon, and of course,
A lunch with Jimmy Carter. Cool.
yeah, and his wife, and of course, what I want to talk about, I figured I got the guy cornered. It's private. There's nobody around us. I want to talk UFOs, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the Carter Center, he had files and things and stuff that I can't talk about, but there was some
Mhm.
information shared. But on a personal level, he told me about his experience and all the efforts that his aides and all the politicians tried to get him to shut up about his sighting of a UFO in Georgia.
Wow.
And then when he got to the White House, he was trying to open up the files on that. And every time he asked for it, it was, yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. And delayed and this and that.
So they're giving
And
him the runaround.
4 years, he never got anything. And
Wow.
he was kind of like, hey, look, you're not a high enough level. Like, you're only president. Like,
Only president.
like, so, and he told me, because I asked him, so well, Clinton's opened up. He said, well, Clinton ran into the same, President Bill Clinton, ran into the same exact problem. He come in
Wow.
and he all that stuff public, had a few meetings behind closed doors, and then didn't make anything public.
Mm.
And Bill Clinton was upset because he wasn't even seeing stuff that was supposedly available. So I'm thinking now, with this new data they're releasing, there seems to be a new attitude in at least the
Yeah.
executive branch and the military. They're releasing things and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I shared my experience with him, and he didn't raise his eyebrows and go crazy, but I told him about an experience I had with two of my sisters back in 1950.
So you've
Uh,
had a UFO experience as well.
and not only a UFO experience, but a close encounter of the other kind, right?
Right.
Wow.
Alien abduction.
Really?
And
That's the
so,
fourth kind, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Abduction is the close encounters of the
fourth
fourth
kind?
kind.
Fourth kind.
Yeah.
I was young, and so were my sisters, but it happened in 1950.
Okay.
Didn't talk about it ever till 52 years later.
52 years you had a shared experience with your sisters, but none of you spoke a word of it.
You would think that'd be a topic of conversation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's like, hey, whoa, what happened? Anyway,
Yeah.
so it was an experience I'm sharing because my two sisters were witnesses to it. So it wasn't like there was some delusional child and he imagined all this stuff, but when you all seen the same exact thing
Right.
and your memory is cut off at a certain point, and
Oh.
all of you don't remember this gap of time in between.
Missing time.
There's the beginning and there's an end, but the middle is,
Blurred out.
except for dreams and subsequent visits, which I can only just share a little on because if I don't have facts, I don't like to share things.
Sure.
But
Okay.
so it started off. It was in the evening, going to bed, and my brother's sharing a room with me. This is interesting. I had an older brother, 7 years older than me.
How old were you at the time? I was just thinking that.
I was about 5.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's 12,
Okay.
going into junior high, right?
Yep.
So he's sleeping in the same room, different bed. And all of a sudden I look up and I see these. At that age, it's hard for me to judge how tall they were.
Right.
They weren't huge because they were taller than me. But, at 5 years old, everybody's taller than you, right? So they're taller than me. And they had these owl shaped eyes. It was like you were looking.
Synchronicity.
Weird because every time I see it, I got this thing for owls because I see owls everywhere looking in my window.
So does Leslie.
Everywhere I go, there's an owl always coming out over the top of my car. And then everybody I meet that has something really interesting in their life, I'll go over to their house. They'll have owl statues. They'll have owl
Wow.
pictures. They'll have an owl story. So there's like this owl thing. And so I'm
Okay.
thinking that the owl eyes are really what the focus is.
Yeah.
I have found that people that have had some sort of encounter,
Hmm.
if you want to call it alien encounter. I don't even like the term alien abduction. It always sounds hot. It sounds hostile, number one.
It does, right? It has that negative connotation feel to it.
But my sisters, it affected them in a negative way.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking their experience and my experience may have had some unique components that were different,
Mm-hmm.
and because they were both kind of afraid of the dark and being alone and all these other things, and uh, maybe things happened differently for them. I
Okay.
came back. I came back. Well, let's go into full experience.
Yeah, you were
So,
talking about being in your bedroom, as a 5-year-old child, and seeing these things come into the room that were taller than you that looked like owls. That's where we left off.
and they were wearing some form of, lack of a better term, a uniform. They were dressed kind of the same, kind of
Okay.
like a jumpsuit kind of thing.
Was it skin tight?
Like all I remember was like coveralls, kind of like
Okay.
they
Okay.
weren't boots, but it was. I don't know if it was skin tight. Wasn't
Okay.
into fashion at that age. I didn't think.
Yeah.
More concerned about seeing their eyes looking at me, and it was
Right.
like, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm screaming because
Oh,
I see screaming. My brother's wakes up. Stepdad comes down, turns the lights on. There's nothing there, of course, nothing. So my brother goes crazy. My stepdad goes, "There's nothing here. Go to sleep." So as soon as he turns the lights off and he goes into the room, they come back, and I'm screaming. I mean, I'm yelling very loud, and my brother's 6 feet away. He's dead asleep.
he
My
doesn't experience them?
stepdad's just a couple doors just down the hall, right?
Yeah.
I'm screaming. Him and my mother don't hear nothing. Neighbors don't hear nothing. So it was like everybody was dead, unconscious. I mean, just out of it. And unlike the last time, the first time I screamed, I woke everybody up. This time when I screamed, everybody was out.
Mm.
I
So
wonder if that's like something that they do, you know?
uh,
Because I've
yeah,
heard that before where like the other people in the area will just like not be keen to it whatsoever.
just totally out. Just boom, nothing.
So what
Zip.
happened?
So then, so I'm laying there and I'm seeing, and they got some kind of, it was the age of 5. So I didn't have a lot of background to figure out what it was. They had some kind of device. In my mind, I thought of it like a fishing rod with a hook on it or something, but they were pointing this thing towards me
Oh,
and with a hook on it of some kind. It was weird. It was that part of the thing was just really weird. It
Okay.
was device, medical device, something, but it was like a fishing pole. It was weird. All I remember, it had some kind of hook at the end of it, and they were trying to do something to me. So I got really scared, and I jumped out of the bed and I ran into my sister's room. They were awake. They heard me screaming. So they're screaming in their bed. I'm there, and then they look at the doorway, and then 3, 4, 5 of these what beings, for lack of a better word, uh, walk in, and they're standing right there looking at us. And that's like about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And the next thing they remember, there is it's like sunrise in the morning. We're in the front room, and we have I got a hanger in my hand, like it's going to be a weapon. I got a metal hanger. I'm gonna. We're behind the sofa, and we see the light coming through, the sunrise coming through the window, and there's 3 of these beings standing there, and they're kind of doing this hand thing, just one hand up, like kind of parental,
oh
kind of
wow.
like it's okay. It's like, no, calm down, you're all right, without saying nothing. That's what feeling I was getting at the time. Like, no, we're here. It's no harm.
Right.
And they started to fade away, kind of like Star Trek, beam me up, Scott.
Like just dematerialize and
Exactly, just
poof
kind of
out.
just like that. And so that was the story for 52 years. We looked at each other. We went to bed early in the morning, just laid there, and never, ever, ever discussed it.
Mm.
Wow, that's wild.
So all right. So
So how did
meanwhile,
it come up recently?
well, I was writing. my autobiography back in 2002, my first book, Spiritual Warrior's Journey.
Okay.
And I wanted to, I go, I don't know if I should share this, but I decided, well, let's find out the story. So I talked to both sisters independently, and they go, yes, that happened. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Here's what I remember. Yes, you remember correctly, but I don't want to talk about it.
Oh,
I don't want to speculate. I don't want to. I don't want to remember it. I had nothing. So I thought that was odd that that was both their reactions. At the time, they were both, you know, 50 some years old. I mean, they were, you know,
yeah.
adults.
Right, right.
So after that, I kept experiencing nightly visits.
Wow.
This I can't verify. I got evidential witnesses other than what I experienced. So story gets weak at this point for evidence. There's no evidence, right? Except for the next 7 or 8 years, 10 years maybe, almost nightly I'd have a nosebleed.
Every night?
Yeah,
Okay.
every nosebleed, 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 nosebleed.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then I was already gifted with psychic abilities.
Mm.
And it was like I plugged in and got recharged and had a
Upgrade.
upgrade. Yeah,
Mm.
just like I downloaded the new Apple for my phone.
Okay.
Rev Bill 2.1, right?
Yeah.
So it felt like I was getting something, and I was having dreams. I mean, I would first off, I would in the morning, I would feel like I just fell onto my bed. It was like all of a sudden I was like 1,000 pounds from weightlessness to 1,000 pounds. I just go boom, and I'd wake up because I fell into the bed. And
OBE.
sometimes I would be laying there at night in the dark, and I'd be being touched by a very small hand, or touched on the shoulder by a hand. Uh, there was a definite presence coming to visit me
Mm.
at the beginning of the night, and when I just before I woke up, boom, there was a presence. So there was something happening nightly for
Years.
years.
Wow. Wonder
So
what
my
they were doing.
don't know, but I had dreams, and these could be totally speculative. So that you could write these off if somebody's watching this. This could all be delusional.
No,
Uh,
tell the story. We're here for it. We're
Yeah.
not just nuts and bolts people by any
even-
means.
even even I are skeptic. I'm telling the story, and I'm a skeptic on myself. I'm going, well,
That's powerful too.
just dreams. Come on, you know, it's just dreams.
But dreams are telling, though. Dreams are
Yeah.
insightful.
But in these dreams, which were really heavy dreams, I mean, it was like almost reality kind of dreams.
Okay.
I'm in a metallic room. The room was inside of a metallic object. Um, I didn't have a window, so I didn't know where it was at.
Right.
Um, and there's metal tables with devices, and there's aliens, and the aliens are touching other humans,
There's other people there too.
children. Yeah.
Wow.
And for some reason, uh, I seem to be the one that's not upset. These children are like, you know, it's like, you know, they got to kind of, in the dream, they're kind of like have to sedate them or something, or do something to them so they're calmed down. Me, I'm watching. I'm curious.
Hmm. So they're
Uh,
subdued, but you're conscious of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm allowing stuff to happen, and I'm watching, and I'm not trying to run away. I'm not trying to defend myself.
Mhm.
So even though I'm in this like what should have been a nightmarish dream, right? Seeing these things in this that appeared to be, looking back at as adult, appeared to be some kind of experimentational medical thing going on.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's the way I interpreted as an adult. At the time,
Yeah,
I was,
sure.
it's
Collecting
all,
samples.
yeah, semen, eggs, who knows? I don't know,
All the above.
all the above. But what's interesting is this. Uh, I start having all these owl encounters.
Mm.
Something going on, I look out the window. How many people have an owl looking in at them, or an owl on their tree, or an owl flies over their car? The daytime owls. There's always an owl, right?
Right.
But every time I see the owl, it's always in my mind. It's always the shape of the eyes. It's the
Yeah.
it's whether it's actual eye, if actually owl or not. My mind is saying it's an owl.
Yeah.
This is so incredibly
But
synchronistic.
the eyes are not really an owl's eyes. They're
You,
dirty
so,
colors that the aliens had. So
yeah.
well, am I seeing an owl and they remind me of the aliens, or am I seeing the aliens and they're making me mesmerized thinking I'm seeing an owl, which keeps everything nice and cool and calm?
Yeah, I honestly think it's like a cover memory. It's like something that they just like slip in front of your brain. So it's something non-traumatic. It's something that's normal for you to see. But really behind that mask, it's a whole different being.
Yeah. So all that is speculation. So
Sure.
you can put a little disclaimer on your video. This is speculation.
I'm here for it.
I guess maybe delusional. So
No.
the jury's out on that, but I do know this, that I was diagnosed about 3 years ago with osteoporosis, or whatever the worst kind of that is. So
Okay.
VA sent me to get a bone scan.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, did the same thing. So I go into the VA. I'd never had a CAT scan before, a
Okay.
CT.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the arm, and the guy looks at it, and he's getting excited. He goes, he says, "There's a metallic object in there."
Tell
This is
me
like,
you got an implant.
so I looked at it, and the VA almost insisted they wanted to cut it out, and I said, "Well, we don't know what it's doing." They
Did
said,
they think
"Well,
it was like shrapnel maybe or something?
that was their first thing."
Okay.
But then food that was shaped like a pill, like a capsule, right?
Wow.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
it was shaped kind of like when you take a dog or a cat to the vet and they inject them with a
Yeah.
vitamin. It was like that. And that was the thought when I looked at it. I thought, is this a GPS tracker? If I'm lost, I go to the pound and they go, "Oh, yeah,
They're scanning
Yeah,
you. Oh, we
right.
found Reverend Bill.
we got to call these people to come get you." So VA wanted to take it and not give it back to me.
Mm.
And I'm going, no, no, if we take it, it's mine. Well, we can't, it's it's a, medical hazard and all this. I said, we don't know you don't even know what it is.
Right.
All they knew was it was not metal.
So did they remove it or do you still have it?
No, I said no.
Good
So
for
then
you.
6 months, I ended up at Kaiser, which is my HMO, and I'm in there for this. They CAT scan it, and I'm curious on getting a second opinion, so I get a CAT scanned.
Mm-hmm.
Go, oh yeah, there it is, and she's taking a picture of the CAT scan on the screen, and she's keeping it, and they want to cut it out. Everyone wants to cut it out.
Right.
Well, what harm is it doing?
Had you
Well,
ever noticed it before? Like before you saw the image of it, had you ever felt it or had sensations in that area or anything?
scars, no cuts, no way it could have got in.
No scars. So had
Okay.
it, wow, okay. So many questions.
Right, right here, right on the
Okay.
inside, right next to was that whatever that bone is, a fibula bone, whatever it is. There's a bone there,
Right.
so
Okay.
it's right to that bone, and it's just sitting there. I don't know where it started, if it moved, if that was a permanent destination. And I'll get a scan in a couple of years, see if it's moved or anything.
Track it.
But it looks like it's just nested in there. And my thought was, call me crazy, but I'm going, if it ain't doing any harm, leave it alone. We don't know
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, yeah. Removing it could set off something. Who knows, right?
Oh, right. So, uh, but it's interesting to realize you might actually be tagged with something. And when you had an incident like I had when I was a child, where I'm watching these, they were trying to poke me with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was the memory. It was like in my mind, it was a fishing pole. I go, what was it they were poking? And they were trying to poke my
I'm
arm. Right?
wondering if you have another one in your nose. Some you have all them nosebleeds.
No, but I've had my nose cut off 3 times, amputated, so it's not there. Trust me.
Oh
Oh
I've
wow.
been
wow.
inside the skull. It's not there.
Okay.
But it
Oh,
is. No, the nosebleeds was interesting, but yeah, those stopped after a number of years. They stopped. So, um, so I've kind of had this curiosity about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's weird. So I was in Nam, and I've talked to some Vietnam vets, and I've kind of shared kind of loosely about this story. And I've heard some stuff from combat zone in Vietnam. See, people don't realize Vietnam. First off, Vietnam, which we can talk about, because the energy there is so close to death and life. The interdimensional world there is it's so easy to cross over. This is crazy talk. So
so the
hopefully,
veil is thin in that area due to the intense energy, right?
so that it's like, I, I mean, because if you watch my video, I did a video where I talk about ghosts in my helicopter. I had all these dead bodies, and next thing I know,
Yeah.
I ghosts sitting on top of the dead bodies. Just in a daze, like where are we going? What happened? You
Wow.
know, help me. So, but I had a friend, and he was in the infantry, Ninth Infantry Division. Name was Lee Davis. I don't know. I hope he doesn't upset. I use his name. Look,
We
Lee
could
Davis.
we could bleep it out if you need us to.
Lee Davis. He'll come back to me anyway. And I don't know if you know anything about the military, but in Vietnam, if you or anywhere, you go out on a patrol, they got like 100 guys, and you got to spend a night someplace. So you kind of clear the bush back, and then you make a circle, and everybody is sleeping head out towards outside the circle. So every other guy is going to be awake, and every other guy is going to be asleep for
Mm,
2 hours. Switch. So the guys that are awake, they got their gun and they're looking in the perimeter, 360 degrees around.
mhm.
So that's a normal. So this one night he's sleeping. It's his time to sleep, and all of a sudden he said it got so quiet. He has his ear down by the ground, and he heard ants moving sand next to his ear. Says it was that quiet. And he says, yes, I actually heard ants moving the sand. I go, really? Okay. So, and then he looked around, and every other guy that was awake was looking upwards, like just in a daze. They were just, they were either looking up in a daze or just looking out in a daze. And so he asked the one guy close to him, he goes, whispering, because the enemy's around. He goes, what's going on? He says, you didn't see it? Go see what? So he went on to describe this aircraft, not a helicopter, not a jet, no sound,
Okay.
no sounds, not even a whoosh, just hovering about 100 feet,
That's it.
about 100 feet above them.
Okay.
And it covered the whole group of these guys, covered it. And there was lights, and it was like moving, and there was lights, and stuff. There was like a light show.
Okay.
And
Wow.
and it was for minutes and lots of minutes, and nobody could tell how long minutes. When they said minutes, nobody had an idea even to guess if it was, a minute, 5 minutes, 20
Mhm.
minutes. You
Yeah.
knew. They just said, well, just minutes. So this thing was hovering over them, some kind of aircraft. Everybody was afraid to say UFO.
UFO.
Right.
There was this aircraft over them making no sound, zero, just watching them, just there over them. And these guys were all shook up. It was like, and not one guy fired at it, which was really interesting because, all these, everybody's got a gun, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're in a war setting, so like,
You get fearful and you got this thing hanging over you. But Nobody fired at it. Nobody screamed, yelled, because nobody want to make any sound,
Yeah,
because
sure.
so. But that was there, and then they said, then it just was gone, just like hyperspace or whatever they call that.
Choo!
It was just gone,
Wow.
and so he thought it was kind of odd, right? So yeah, I said, yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of odd. So then I had this friend, a lieutenant. That guy was a E5 or E4. He wasn't an officer. So you go, okay, just a guy, right? Well, I met this lieutenant colonel, Marine colonel, a Top Gun. In fact, if he wasn't the first, he was like the second or third Top Gun class for the Marines. And he was like the top guy. He was Top Gun.
Okay.
So this guy had a good record. He's a Jewish guy. And I met him when he was retired, and he wrote a book. And the book he wrote was Angel on My Wing. And I'll explain how that got there. But he told me he took off. He told me the aircraft carrier, and he gave me the dates. I didn't write it down. I didn't know where the story was going to go.
Hmm.
And he says he had his wingman, and they were flying.
Hmm.
They look up, and they see these odd shaped objects in the sky, at least two of them. And wherever they go, they're ahead of them. So they start going faster. They're over in North Vietnam.
Okay.
We're going into Hanoi to bomb, but they called the aircraft carrier and say, "Hey, we got these uh, unidentified aircraft. we got these bogies that are shadowing us. They're right in front of us. Can we pursue them?" So they said, "Yeah, pursue them." So the two jets, no matter how fast they went, top speed, they pursued them all the way into Cambodia, and then they just disappeared. Right?
What?
They call back the aircraft carrier, and they're talking to the guy there, and he goes, "Yeah, we were following these unidentified flying objects," and he told him everything that happened. He goes, "Sir, do you really want me to write this down in the report?" And then there was a long pause. He goes, "Yeah, we're coming back to the aircraft carrier." So they didn't report it. They
I
were
think
kind of
that happens a lot.
Yeah, that
oh.
makes me wonder how many times this has happened where
So I
pilots see something and they don't report it.
Right.
told that
Definitely.
story to a captain on a United Airlines, working for United.
Okay.
Guy still, I don't think he's retired. I think he's still a captain. And so therefore I can't mention his name because he said he
Sure.
was concerned they would put him in for fitness for duty. So him and his
Yep.
crew sit the airplane, the co-pilot and the flight engineer. They got a UFO right in front of them, circling around them, going back and forth, jetting all over the sky. And they call it in. And they're basically said, "Do you really want to report this?" And when he got back and he tried to report it, he was kind of let know, "No, do you really want to report it?" And so he did. But he said he had to tell somebody. And so he called me up and he told me this story. I've never talked to him again, but he had to tell it. He says somebody's got to know
He's
this
got to
is
get
what.
it off his chest, right?
And and then I ran into another military guy. I don't know. I'm going down this road on military guys, but
No, that's fine.
this guy was stationed in Alaska at some kind of radar station,
Okay.
and so he's picking up radar images, just all kinds of weird stuff, and several nights, just and then these pilots are saying they're seeing these UFOs, and he's picking up objects, and he writes everything down, of course, and somebody comes to check out the records, and the records are all confiscated.
No.
We've heard that before. Hashtag
course.
Nimitz.
It's
Right?
just, yeah, this never happened. End of story. Boom. So, but he goes, "I was there for a year." He says these things it was ongoing. Alaska, it's an ongoing problem for the military because they keep getting these radar blips, and
Mm.
they're verifying them as well.
But yet Arrow has no evidence of UAPs.
Yeah, Alaska's pretty
Mm.
heavy. So on a personal level, I've had several other incidences with the lapse time. For example, when I was about junior high. Uh, I don't know if you guys, this is not a big deal anymore. Back, us poor kids, we couldn't go to the country to go camping. So we'd camp in a backyard, and all
Yeah.
this campfire in our tent out. I don't know if anybody does it anymore, but camping trip, camping in my friend's backyard.
I think that's cool.
Yeah,
Improvise,
me
right?
too.
Why not?
All right. Behind his house was a farm because they built this tract of homes right next to this farm. And so we started building this fire. He had all this scrap wood. We're burning this fire, and we're burning this fire, and we're burning this fire. And all of a sudden, we see
Oh.
weird stuff going on in the skies, like shooting stars, but in a formation. Like, that's weird. How can you have all these objects and then change direction, shooting stars, and they go, and we're watching this whole thing. It was over Silicon Valley, Santa Clara Valley. It was in Sunnyvale, which is where Yahoo and Google and all those big places are at now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff is now there's no farms in that area now. Anyway, this is back when there's farms. And then we looked up and we saw it looked like a meteorite. It looked like it was a flaming ball. It was lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming down. And we're thinking, my God, it's gonna crash in this field, right? We run to the fence and it's coming down, and then it slows down and it drops in this field. Now it should have made dust. This is at night,
Should have kicked up a whole bunch of stuff, right?
It kicked up all kinds of stuff, right? Nothing.
But it
right?
didn't?
No. And it should have made a big boom, right? There's all these, everybody should have woke up. So we're up there watching that thing go and then just drop onto the field. And that was like midnight because we were looking at it was like midnight. We were watching this. Next thing we remember, the two of us, the next thing we remember, we're sitting by the campfire. The campfire's out. It's sunrise.
Okay.
Again, with the whole something happening at night, but the next thing you remember, it's sunrise, which is like a 12-hour gap.
Yeah, the guy was Pat Adams was his name, in case he ever watches this thing. Pat Adams.
Okay.
Shout out, Pat.
But we never ever discussed it.
Okay. Never.
So lots of events like that over time, and then of course when I was hitchhiking around Europe when I was 19, and I was in France, I'm 19 years old by myself, and total darkness. There's not a light anywhere, and I'm getting this real spooky feeling. Somebody's, when somebody's watching you,
Yeah.
somebody's watching you. Well, that's what I was getting, and all there was whoo, whoo.
Oh, wow.
Synchronicity.
I'm going, holy cow, man! I was getting. I actually got spooked. It was like there was a part of me that had a remembrance of emotional remembrance of
Sure.
maybe this is not safe ground I'm on, right? Because I'm all alone. So instead of camping in my tent, I packed everything up. I got on the road, and at midnight or so, I'm out on this darkened road. And a truck comes down and sees this crazy young 19-year-old kid hitchhiking in the rain in the dark, and I get a ride to Paris, But anyway, so I didn't want to be there though. I go, no, I got to leave here because this I got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know what goes on in that realm. I don't know where you separate reality from not. I had that abduction encounter. That's the only thing I know for sure is I saw these beings.
Yep.
Sister saw these beings.
Mm-hmm.
We agreed on that, and then we had this this zone where time disappeared, came back with no memory, and they said goodbye to us. And then I got the object in my arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my imagination. There's an object in my arm. Is that?
Do you have copies of those scans? Like,
my hospital does.
okay.
So
Okay.
it's like it's
documented.
yeah. It's so anyway. So all that was happening, and a part of me goes, "Is that real or not?" Now the only other witness to something similar to that about 6 months before the alien abduction, when we lived in San Francisco in this old house, there was a reoccurring event happening every single night. Every night we lived there for several years. We would hear doors open, windows open. We heard footsteps going down the hall. We heard people trying to open doors or doors opening.
Wow.
My mother goes, "Well, it's just the nightly visitors," whatever that meant. Stepdad was a World War II vet, PTSD, you know, and so he was getting freaked out, and he had a gun, 357 Magnum, and he'd
Oof.
walked looking for these guys. And he said that one night, the last night he ever looked, he got scared or something. But he heard footsteps, and he went down the hall, and he saw a leg. One leg's already through the window, and so the leg's going through the window, not an open window, a window. He sees a leg following through this window. And he went back to bed, put his gun away, never got up again, never chased him down. So something at that residence was visiting. And I felt like it was kind of odd because my mother she had children, and
Yeah.
these visiting her children.
Right.
And it's just our nightly visitor. What go?
Like it's an accepted thing, right? Like, yeah, it's just him.
Oh, she was like, it was okay. And I'm going, no, something's crazy going on here. This is crazy, right? Because something was going on. And but it was definitely, you could hear the sounds. My stepdad saw a body going through a window glass, pane of glass. And
Was it a human leg?
So he didn't want to talk about it.
Oops.
So
All right.
the question you got to ask yourself, was that a haunting? Was that ghosts?
Right.
Or was that our owl friends, the aliens?
You read my mind, Rev. You read my mind because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm wondering if this is more of like a paranormal type of experience where it's like a haunting with spirits, or if this is more like a ET kind of
time, because in that house, I had two brothers die.
Oh.
Serious death.
I'm sorry for your losses.
And when Bruce and Roger, so they both died in that house, just boop, dead. Then year and a half later, boop, dead.
With no prior.
They called it SIDS at the time. They didn't know, sudden infant.
Oh.
They're like a year old, 8 months old, stuff like that. They just
Whoa.
But when you went into that room, my brother was 7 years old, and when he went into the room where they died, he felt somebody choking him. He started screaming. It was like there was hands on his throat. He was like being choked. He couldn't breathe. It was like really terrible.
Okay.
That sounds like a haunting.
And the room was cold.
Yeah.
Ice cold. It was just, anyway, it wasn't necessarily a happy place. The UFO accounts were just, it's either all delusional because these things happen to people, and maybe there's a logical explanation. Maybe it's just I don't think they're from outer space. I think all this stuff is interdimensional.
Interdimensional.
Yeah, that's been said a lot.
So they don't have to travel trillions of light years. They just
vibe up to a different frequency and pop in this time space,
Yeah. And ghosts are vibrating at a different frequency. And so you can have all these things happening at the same place, same time, same moment, because there's only one time, there's only one place. So, and things happen to you, and your vibration has changed, so you're allowed to see them, or they change their vibration. So,
right. I've heard it said that they have to lower their vibration to come down a little bit, and then we have to raise our vibration to go up a little bit, and somewhere we meet in the middle.
Yep.
That could be why children might experience a lot in childhood, because naturally a child has a higher frequency because they're not, weighed down by life.
All right. We would like to thank our guest, Reverend Bill McDonald. It was a pleasure having you on. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and it's certainly not the last. So just wanted to say thank you again. To everybody out there that's listening, please like, comment, share, subscribe.
All the things.
Right? Hit the little bell to get notifications of our future videos. And with that being said, Leslie, would you like to say something?
I just want to send much love to everyone watching. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time.
And I just want to say thank you to my lovely co-hosts. I appreciate you guys doing this and sharing your time and your energy
Absolutely.
and having these awesome conversations. And to those that are here watching, make sure to tune back in for the next part because this is definitely not over.
Namaste.
Deuces.
To have been profoundly altered by collisions with such bodies.
Asteroids.